Hello everyone, I'm Sebastian Y, and this is Foundations of Economics. In this video, we will talk about how to apply our knowledge of elasticity to a few different situations. First thing we'll do is do a few calculations involving elasticity. Once we know a particular elasticity, we can use it to help us make business decisions. The basic elasticity equation has three parts: the elasticity on the left, and then the percent change in the other variables. This means that if we know two of these three things, we can always solve for the remaining one. For example, suppose we know the income elasticity of demand is 0.2, and the income increases by 15%. We can use this information to figure out what will happen to the quantity demanded. The income elasticity is 0.2, and that's equal to the percent change in the quantity demanded, which we don't know yet, divided by the percent change in income, which we know is 15%. To figure out the percent change in quantity demanded, we just multiply both sides by 15%. That's going to give us the percent change in the quantity demanded is 15% times 0.2, which is 3%. This tells us that a 15% increase in income will increase the quantity demanded by 3%. Let's do one more. Suppose we know the demand for pie has a cross-price elasticity of negative 0.5 with respect to the price of ice cream. We'll go ahead and put negative 0.5 on the left-hand side of the equation. That's the elasticity. How much would the price of ice cream have to change to decrease the quantity demanded of pie by 16%? So this time we know that the percent change in quantity is negative 16%. And the thing that we don't know is the percent change in the price of ice cream, IC for short. To figure this out, we can just do some algebra here. Multiply both sides by percent change in the price of ice cream. So we get negative 0.5 times the percent change in the price of ice cream. That's equal to negative 16%. We can then multiply both sides by negative 2 to cancel out the negative 1/2. That's going to give us percent change in the price of ice cream equals negative 16% times negative 2. The negatives are going to cancel out, and that's going to leave us with the percent change in the price of ice cream needs to be positive 32%. So in conclusion, if the price of ice cream increases by 32%, that will decrease the quantity demanded of pie by 16%. The last thing that we'll talk about here is how to apply elasticity to comparative statics. We mentioned earlier that generally speaking, the more elastic a supply or demand curve, the flatter that curve is. And the more inelastic, the steeper it is, to the point where a perfectly inelastic curve would be a vertical line. When the supply or demand curve shifts, the elasticity of the other curve, the one that doesn't shift, is going to have a big impact on the outcome. The first graph we see here is going to be our baseline. The supply and demand curves are the ones that we've been working with several times throughout the last few videos. When supply shifts to the right, the price in equilibrium goes from 6 down to 4, and the quantity goes from 20 to 30. In this next graph, I've kept the supply curve the same, but I've changed the demand curve so that it is flatter and more elastic. The original equilibrium here is still the same. It's 6 and 20, but this time when I shift the supply curve to the right, the exact same amount that I did before, something different happens. The price, instead of dropping down all the way to 4, only drops down to 5, while the quantity increases a lot more than it did before. It increases to 35 as opposed to 30. So when the demand curve is more elastic, the buyers respond to the supply shift by buying a lot more output, but the price does not go down as much. In this third graph, I've again kept the supply the same, but have now made the demand perfectly inelastic. Again, the original equilibrium point is exactly the same at 6 and 20. When I shift the demand curve to the right, what happens is the price goes down greatly. Remember that before, with the original demand curve, it only went down to 4. It's gone down to 2 this time. but the quantity has stayed the same because, again, the perfectly inelastic demand curve. So what does this tell us? When the curve that is not shifting is relatively elastic, the quantity changes a lot, the price doesn't change so much. When the curve that is not shifting is quite inelastic, the price will change a lot, the quantity won't change so much. And that is where we will leave it for elasticity. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks for watching.